Francisco Alexander Lopez presents Max's Choice. Some of the content might be considered inappropriate. Please be advised. The situation. So, let's imagine this scenario. A man, let's call him Max, is being held captive by the Mexican Cartel, as well as 15 hostages of ages over 21 and varying genders. Looking to have some fun at the expense of the hostages, the Mexican cartel selects one 12-year-old girl, let's call her Ellen, and instructs Max to brutally cut off Ellen's hands and feet with a blunt machete. If Max refuses to dismember Ellen, the Mexican cartel will slowly flay the other hostages and hang them, allowing them to slowly suffocate and then perish. The Mexican cartel is not playing around. There is no doubt that they will do it, and Max nor the hostages have any way of defending themselves. Max now has to decide whether to dismember Ellen to save the other 13 hostages or refuse and have the other 13 hostages tortured and executed in an excruciating manner. Let's take a look at an ethical standard. Although there are many ethical standards that can look at this situation and make it very complicated, utilitarianism makes the situation very simple. The end justifies the means. Utilitarianism says that the most ethical choice is the one that benefits the greatest good for the greatest number of people. This idea was founded by Jeremy Bentham, an English philosopher. The idea is to get more pleasure and get less pain. John Stuart Mill, a British philosopher, states that the actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness and wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. Whatever comes before does not matter. Utilitarianism does not account for things like justice or individual rights. If a company's only goal is to make money, then choices like firing employees with low performance is the ethical choice, disregarding how long they've been with the company or if they are going through any problems at home. Another example, similar to the situation presented above. A hospital has 4 sick patients with a need for different organs. There is one person in the hospital with healthy organs, and he is a match with the 4 sick patients. Under utilitarianism, the ethical choice is to harvest the healthy organs from the healthy person and save the lives of the 4 sick patients. This is the kind of ethical standard that makes things like war acceptable. If there is a tactical advantage in destroying a bridge in order to stop the enemy's supplies or reinforcements from coming through, even if our soldier will have to find another way around, the ethical choice is to destroy it. A few soldiers suffer loss for the benefit of the rest of the country. Another example, a soldier might also jump on a grenade to save the lives of his comrades. It is possible that that same soldier might have a family of his own, a wife, kids, friends. However, the rest of his comrades also have families of their own. No matter what, jumping on that grenade is an ethical choice because more people will have a good benefit. If a situation is deemed ethical under utilitarian standards, it becomes difficult, if not impossible, to argue that it is unethical under those same standards without making things complicated and making a bunch of mental gymnastics occur. So, here's the question. Is the action above ethical? When we break down the situation with utilitarian ethical standards, the choice is simple. Max has to dismember Ellen in order to save the 13 hostages. The greatest number of people, 13 hostages, will benefit from the choice and will avoid pain and suffering. Only Ellen, one person, will suffer. If Max refuses, the other 13 hostages will suffer greatly, even more than Ellen would have suffered. The health of one versus the health of 13, it is simple math. Utilitarianism would say that hurting Ellen is an ethical choice in this situation. So, is there any way to argue that this action is unethical? Well, under utilitarianism, absolutely not. The amount of suffering the 13 hostages would go through is much greater than the suffering Ellen would go through. Even if we were to have, let's say, two Ellens, one who will be dismembered and one who will be flayed alive and hanged to slowly suffocate like the 13 hostages, well, the original Ellen, who was going to be dismembered, would have a much quicker and less painful experience. In this situation, there isn't really an increase in happiness for anyone, but there are differences in the reverse of happiness. The reverse of happiness is significantly greater when torturing the 13 hostages, when compared to the reverse of happiness when torturing Ellen, and only Ellen alone. The difficulty of this choice, without following an ethical standard, comes from picking between a small, innocent child versus 13 adults who may or may not be innocent. Even worse, choosing the child means you have to be the one with the machete and getting blood on your hands versus letting someone else do the harm. Would Max be able to live with himself after actively participating in dismembering a small, innocent girl? Would Max be able to live with himself after allowing the Mexican Cartel to torture and kill 13 adults who may have families and loved ones? The situation is extremely complicated, and having to pick one or the other is almost impossible, really. Following an ethical standard like utilitarianism takes away the complexity in this situation. Saving 13 people is obviously greater than saving one person. In utilitarianism, we do not look at the age of someone in the situation, or anyone in this situation. We don't look at the gender, their history, background, ethnicity, profession, or anything. The Mexican cartel does not care about any of those things in this situation either. In this situation, all of the hostages are simply that, hostages. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something.